Didcot Powerhouse Fund was launched in November 2021 by a group of local volunteers who saw the urgent need to support the local community and who wanted to find a way to make their donations as impactful as possible. Only 4 months later, the fund made their first 17 Powerhouse grants, and each year since, as the amount of donations has grown, the number of grants made to local charities has also grown. Now in 2025, Powerhouse has raised over £400,000 for the local community and is still run by volunteers. The way the fund works is that donors, businesses, community fundraising or individuals make donations into the fund, which is held securely by Oxfordshire Community Foundation. Once a year, guided by a Powerhouse grants panel with a deep knowledge of local need, the fund makes grants to local charities and community groups. Powerhouse regularly asks for updates from the grant recipients on the impact they are achieving and the challenges they have met, and Powerhouse then shares that success with donors through newsletters, social media and an annual impact report. Powerhouse is all about supporting our local community, so at least 90% of beneficiaries of any Powerhouse grant must live locally in the Powerhouse area. This Powerhouse area, outlined in blue on the map, has a population of over 46,000, covering Didcot, villages from Culham to Blueberry, and the hotspots of business and science at Milton Park, Harwell and Culham. But alongside these areas of international success are pockets of real poverty. People think of Oxfordshire as an affluent county, but it's shocking to think that in this Powerhouse area there are neighbourhoods in the top 10% most deprived in England, and that's for 3 out of the 7 measures used in the Index of Multiple Deprivation.
Hi, this is Kate Waring here, Chief Executive of Sohar Housing Association, a local housing association based in Didcot. Every day we meet local people who are struggling with the rising cost of living and for whom the recent increases in heat and water charges mean going without other basics. More affordable housing means more left over from wages for other costs and better lives for families.
Let's focus in on the data for just 3 aspects: children, education and skills. In the Powerhouse area, over 1,000 children live in relative low-income families. Over 7,500 are in the 20% most deprived in England in the education domain. And in the latest data available, the proportion of young people entering higher education by age 19 is 33%, well below the average for Oxfordshire at 45%, and even lower than the average for England at 37%. Many of you will remember that Didcot used to have 3 children's centres and now has none, despite further growth in the population. When young children are assessed against 17 early learning goals, historically the Didcot Powerhouse area has underperformed both the Oxfordshire and England averages. 4,651 people in the area have no qualification at all, O-level, GCSE or NVQ, and in Didcot South the percentage with no qualifications is higher than the average for all of England.
I live just outside Didcot, but within the Didcot Powerhouse area, and I'm a single person on universal credits and get £393.45 per month. I struggle massively. Due to losing family members, I live in a property of 1 extra bedroom which I now have to pay for, and I want to downsize, but because of the extra cost, I have rent arrears. I rely on the food bank. They contact my landlord to request a delivery as I struggle to get out sometimes. I've had supermarket vouchers from the Household Support Fund through SODC twice. I have a car but can't afford to keep it on the road all the time, and this means that I struggle for interviews and job centre appointments. I try to use public transport but don't always have the funds. It is a constant struggle trying to get to job centre appointments. I have missed some due to not being able to get there, and some due to feeling depressed, and this has led to sanctions. This not only affects me financially, but it affects me mentally. I get very low and depressed. I'm looking at selling some things from my property to make ends meet. My bills have increased and I struggle to keep up with payments. Recently I had to cancel broadband, but my neighbour has allowed me to log into theirs. I don't have a very large family, but they do try and help. Due to the cost of living, they don't have much spare either. My neighbour sometimes makes me food too.
So the need is right here, next door. But thanks to your donations, Powerhouse has been able to make grants to help meet that need and support local beneficiaries. The following is a snapshot of what has been achieved by just a few of the grant recipients in 2024. Congratulations to all 21 of our 2024 grant recipients on the impact you've achieved, and you can read about all the projects in detail in the Powerhouse 2024 Impact Report.
Now that we're in our fourth round of grant giving, we're able to analyse where our grants have had the greatest impact, and so shape how Powerhouse should evolve going forward. 3 themes are emerging. The first theme links to the insight that placemaking is all about understanding what is unique about an area. Greater Didcot and the surrounding villages have a fabulous community spirit. Superb work is already happening through local charities and volunteer-led community groups. But our local charities are typically relatively small, too small to be able to afford paid fundraisers, sometimes run entirely by volunteers, often so small they are below the threshold to apply for larger grants. Having a local focus has meant that Powerhouse can channel support to those people on the ground who are really making a difference, and Didcot Baby Mondays and the Cornerman are 2 such examples.
3 years ago, we were a struggling community group and uncertain of our future. Now, we're a registered charity and celebrating our 10th birthday this year. It's not just the vital funding, but the ongoing advice and support from Powerhouse and Didcot Charity Hub that have encouraged and enabled us to grow.
Without that first Powerhouse grant, I doubt the Cornerman could have survived our first year, and their trust in us was a huge confidence boost. Now we have strengthened our governance, increased our partnership working, and are on our way to becoming a CIO.
The second theme is that where we've been able to offer consistent funding, this can achieve cumulative benefits that are greater than the sum of the individual grants, and this is illustrated by Didcot Train.
You know, Train's always been a service provision for teenagers in the town, but a few years ago, after feedback from schools and the police and parents as well, we saw the need for an earlier intervention approach, and particularly targeting those young people who, perhaps in year 6, perhaps struggling with that transition through to secondary school, because we could see some of the problems arising at that younger age. Well, thanks to a successful Didcot Powerhouse grant, we ran that work as a pilot, and it was really, really successful. But what's been really valuable to Train is that Didcot Powerhouse have consistently funded that work over several years, and the sort of cumulative impact of that is an organisational shift for us, whereby that work with year 6s, with those who are perhaps 10 or 11 years old, has become embedded within our organisational life, even within our theory of change. And so, you know, some of those year 6 young people who engaged with us a few years ago are still engaging with us today. They're maybe in year 8 now or year 9, and we've been able to signpost them onto other services, such as our mentoring work or our football club and things like that. And an added benefit as well is our ability to relate to the parents of young people, because it's quite easy to establish contact with parents when someone's in year 6, whereas when they've become a teenager, they don't want you to have anything to do with their parents at all. But we've been able to carry those relationships on as well, which has been really helpful. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's been a real synergy to these 3 years of Powerhouse grants, and the value has been in this consistency of funding, because the cumulative impact has been this organisational shift in approach, which is greater than the sum of any kind of single individual grant.
And the third emerging theme is that Powerhouse has a part to play in identifying where there are gaps in resources for local citizens, and then providing the seed funding that can attract charities into Greater Didcot to start providing those resources and filling that gap. And a recent example is support for domestic abuse.
Hi everybody, my name's Dawn Hodson and I'm from Reducing the Risk of Domestic Abuse. I don't know if you're aware, but 1 in 5 individuals in the last 12 months will have been impacted by domestic abuse. This is made worse if that individual is living in a rural area, because they find it difficult to access information and support. Supported by the Didcot Powerhouse Fund, Reducing the Risk in the last 12 months has been working in the Didcot area to raise awareness, engage with individuals and community groups so that information is accessible and people know where to go for support.
But donating to Powerhouse is not just about the need and the impact. Powerhouse was originally created by corporates to make supporting the local community both less administratively time-consuming and more impactful. Let's hear from a donor why Powerhouse is a better way of giving.
So Milton Park is a founding donor to the Didcot Powerhouse Fund at quantum level, and I sit on the advisory group. Powerhouse works for us for 3 key reasons. Number 1, by donating to Powerhouse, we know that our donation will be spread across many local charities and community groups. Our employees have a broad range of concerns, so it's good to know that Powerhouse grants also support a broad range of issues. And we don't have to choose the charities, we trust the grants panel with their local knowledge to know where the local need is greatest. Number 2, impact is important to us, but we don't have time to follow up donations ourselves. When you donate to Powerhouse, you know that you will receive an annual impact report and regular news stories and case studies that you can share with your employees. Number 3, lastly, donating to local good causes can be time consuming because of the due diligence required. But with a donation to Powerhouse, all that due diligence is done for you by the Oxfordshire Community Foundation. So if you're interested in supporting the local community, where perhaps most of your employees with their families live, then we can absolutely recommend the Powerhouse as an effective way to achieve impact with your donations.
None of this could happen without the help of our donors. We're delighted that so many donors continue to support us each year and are especially grateful to our founder donors who've supported Powerhouse from the very beginning. Your donations are quite literally changing lives. Thank you. And when you think of the work needed to make Powerhouse happen, let's remember that it's local volunteers and pro bono donors who design the strategy, speak to donors, run the grants panel, collate the impact, and produce the impact report. We all do it because we can see what a difference Powerhouse is already making on the ground for our neighbours. Thank you for listening, and if you're excited by what Powerhouse is doing, then please consider joining in as a donor, a community fundraiser, or a volunteer.
Looking forward, our goal is not just to go on reporting income to you on an annual basis, but that by 2032, that's 10 years from our first grants, Powerhouse will demonstrably have improved community life in Greater Didcot and the surrounding villages, making this one of the best places to live in Oxfordshire and even in the UK. Thank you.